I'm Jacqueline Hellyer, and we're going to have a chat about kinky sex. It's something that a lot of people are curious about, but aren't always game to go there. So the purpose of this talk is to essentially demystify kink, so that you know more about it, and if you choose to go ahead and play around with it a little bit, you know how to do it. So it's fun, safe, and enjoyable. So what is kinky sex? Well, it's generally what's referred to as BDSM. That's bondage, discipline, and sadomasochism. So it's all about playing around the edges of pleasure and pain. They're quite similar physiologically. You can get some quite exquisite sensations when you're around the border. And it's also playing with dominance and submission. And around that you have games to do with slaves and masters. And it also extends into exhibitionism, voyeurism, that's wanting to show yourself or wanting to be seen. And also into clothes. A lot of clothes have fetish appeals, such as leather or latex, or my personal favourite, corsets. And if you play around with some of this stuff, you can actually reach levels of sexual arousal that you may not in more standard types of sexual activity. I find it quite interesting because I've researched the kinky scene as well as tantric sex, and often the experiences that people have are quite similar, that heightened transcendent sensation that you can get sexually. And the reason for this, I believe, is that because in both styles of sexual activity, there's two important things. One is that you become very present. It enables you to be present in your body and to switch off your brain. This is what happens when you're dressed in certain ways, or if you're restrained, or just in the anticipation of you're not quite sure what, which is similar to what you can get through the more meditative aspects. So the presence is important. And the other thing is just letting go and just surrendering to the experience. So if you set the kinky play scene up correctly, then you really can just let go. And in that letting go and that surrendering to the experience, whether you're the dominant or the submissive, you can really allow sensation to flow. Okay, so how do you do it in a way that's not too scary and that makes you feel safe and allows you to have these sorts of experiences? Well, safety is very important. And this is the difference between activities that are consensual and pleasurable and ones that aren't. Because some of the things people get up to in this kind of play, if it wasn't consensual, would be highly illegal. All right? And I'm certainly not encouraging anything that is illegal or that doesn't involve mutual enjoyment and pleasure. So people who get into the really kinky stuff, they'll often actually set the entire scene before they even get started, so they know exactly what's going to happen. Right? People are often concerned when it comes down to any of this S&M type activity that it's very derogatory or demeaning to the submissive one, or the bottom, to use the correct terminology, as opposed to being the top. But what you need to know and understand for this to work is that in fact it's the bottom, the so-called submissive one, who's actually in control, because they're the ones who set the parameters around what's possible. Okay? Never do anything that the bottom doesn't want to enjoy. So it's things like making sure that there is a safe word. And that's a word that you can use, either of you, to show if you don't want to go any further in the activity. So it needs to be a word that you wouldn't utter normally. So no, stop is not going to work, because that could be part of the play. It needs to be something more like strawberry or Toronto, okay? If that word's uttered, stop the activity, have a nice cuddle, make sure you're both feeling okay. So it's important too that you know kind of what you're going to do, and you know that you can stop whenever you want to, all right? Once you've done that, then you can let go and just play. All right? So if you'd like to start bringing some of this play into your normal sexual activity, I'm going to show you a couple of things now that they're very safe and they're fun and titillating, all right? It's okay for this to be a little bit scary because you are pushing your boundaries here. Whenever you push your boundaries, there's a certain level of nervousness. That's okay. Just go as far as you feel comfortable with. So today I'm going to demonstrate with my friend Jacqueline a couple of restraints, okay? We're going to do a little bit of bondage here. Now, is that okay with you?
All good.
You got to ask. So the first thing I'm going to do is a wrist bind, okay? This is a very useful little trick that anyone can do. So start by getting some rope. It's got to be nice soft rope from the hardware store, or go to a sex shop and get some of the professional stuff. See, it comes in pretty colours. Double it over. Put it around the wrist. Put the rope through the loop. Always keep your fingers underneath so it doesn't get too tight. We want this to be pleasurable for our partner. Now loop around twice. Then put the final string under all of it. Create another loop and then simply put this one through. And here you have a quite effective restraint. There's all sorts of things you can do here, such as tie your partner up so that he's under your total control. So another one that I'd like to show you is a full body bind. Sounds a bit scary, but it's not really. I'll show you why at the end. So we need to stand up for this one. So for this bind, you need a long piece of rope that's got a fixed loop in one end. Now, assume the position. And the way you do it is you make a loop through the first loop. Then bring the rope around the opposite direction and make another loop. Go back in the opposite direction. And again, make a loop. Backwards, loop. Back again, loop. Back again, loop. You see how nicely trussed he's becoming? And with the final loop, just tie it in a simple slip knot. And see, your truss toy is ready to play with. Whether it's for pain or pleasure. And when you've finished, just let go and it falls away. So enjoy.